Hello, everyone, and welcome to Jaynky to the Max, podcast where we talk about awesome creations with their even cooler creators. Today on the show, we have Richard, who was the winner of our of the game of JamCraft Game Jam that we've been promoting for a few episodes now. Yeah, it was a fun bonus episode. Welcome to the show, Richard.
Yeah, thanks for having me in.
Oh, yeah, no problem. So, Tell us a bit about your story about game dev. How did you get started in the field and kind of?
Yeah, of course. So by day, I am a technical coach at a programming bootcamp at Concordia University in Montreal, and by night, I'm an indie game developer and also a freelancer.
That is awesome.
And I guess it all started when I was before I was doing this. I was coding during the day, during my lunchtime. I was coding games on the side. And at some point, my coworkers came to me and they said, you could do that for a living, right? And that's when I discovered coding bootcamps. And yeah, I really like the concept. And after that, I went through a coding bootcamp. I went through it. It was an amazing experience. And then I went to work for a year, but then I kind of got the itch again of, creating my own thing. Mm-hmm. And that's when I decided to go work as a technical coach in a boot camp because that means less hours, which means more time for personal projects.
That's amazing. That's really cool. Wow. Yeah. So, I take it this isn't your first game jam you've been a part of.
I did a few, but not that many, and they haven't all gone well, right? It's kind of hard when you don't like the theme. I remember one specifically. Sure. I think the theme was like Jump Higher, and all the games ended up being platforming games.
Yeah. None about guys named Jump smoking weed. Yeah, no, it's tough. I remember seeing this year. So what was it? We've been promoting the game jam, and I was like, this is a cool deal. Like, I love the idea of a game jam. Like, it's such an incredible experience, and it's a great way to learn code. That's what we plug here, project-based learning. And I was thinking about joining a team. I was like, okay, what would be a good team to join? And I was like, you know what? I'll just make our own. So we made our own team, and it's like 10 days thanks to MechWorks. He carried us hardcore. But yeah, we kind of came out with a semi-okay game. And that was with a team of, I think, like 4 people. I mean, I can't imagine like building and coding and then doing the graphics, and, like all of that one person.
It can be a lot. And the thing is, every one of those roles in a big game company, people make their entire career off of that one specialty.
Right.
Uh-huh. So when you're alone or in a small team, it's so much skills, to just to learn. Yeah, it is. It really is. So you have to cut corners somewhere, but you have to cut the right ones. That's the challenge.
Exactly.
Yeah. And in your game, I think you did the right one. If you have not played it already, what I forget the name of it. What's it called?
Transient, which means wanting to get out, passing by a place temporarily, because in the game you want to get out of the spaceship. So the lore of my game was inspired by the theme. So the themes were Alien and Expire. So actually, before I talk about that, I want to say, before the game jam, there was those 2 ideas that I kind of want to put together. One day I thought about, what if you take a tactical strategy game such as XCOM or Final Fantasy Tactics, and what if the actions, instead of them being predefined, what if you use some kind of like deck building element to like move around, attack, and etc. So that was kind of there, and I didn't know I was going to make this game on JamCraft, but the day came, they announced the theme, and I looked at them, and I knew immediately that this is the game I wanted to make. So when I saw Alien, I knew, okay, this is going to be the story. This is going to be the lore. So in my game, you are an alien that's been abducted by humans. And it's funny because usually it's the other way around.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, I like the twist on it.
So the game starts, and you just broke out of your cell, and you want to get out of here. You want to reach the escape pods before the spaceship kind of leaves the orbit of your homeworld. And there's kind of a sense of urgency there. And so I was thinking, okay, there's a sense of urgency, but not in the gameplay. It's only in the story. So how can I make it so that the player feels that sense of, like, I need to get out? And that's when the second theme came in. So I thought, what if every time that you play your whole hand of, let's say, 10 cards, you have to lose one of your cards permanently, right? And also it's very dramatic. The screen comes in, and it says, like, time is running out, and you have to...
I remember seeing that. I was like, oh no.
And yeah, I'm very passionate about game design and like clever game mechanics, and I try my best to come up with good ones. And this particular one, I'm pretty happy with.
Yeah.
So
yeah, like it wasn't just like, I mean, anyone can have the idea. I think the thing with the game, especially with game design, is executing well, and I think you really did execute well. Like, it was fun, it was engaging, it was different. It had good lore. But yeah, go ahead. I interrupted you.
No, that's okay. So the reason why I like this particular game mechanic is because, one, it's a player choice. It's not randomized. And it's a choice about a loss. And so in my game, when your cards, they're not pre-made, so you have to craft them from scratch. On the enemies, you loot single abilities, and you loot blind cards. So all of these cards that are in the player deck, the player crafted them himself. So we wanted them to be that way. And now you're asking that player to get rid of one of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it also has another side effect, which is, let's say you just cleared out a room of enemies. You know that your deck is going to run out at some point. So do you use maybe a turn to loot the room, or do you keep going to make sure that you don't run out of cards to play? So.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. No, that was really good. So, did you have any like unexpected?
Sorry, you cut a little there.
Did you have any like unexpected problems that come up when you?
I would say the movements, which I did the movement algorithm, which I did on the first day. Yeah, that was so much. That was much harder than I thought. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the A-star pathfinding algorithm.
No, I'm not.
No.
Okay. Well, it basically needs to calculate which is the best path from grid A to grid B, and to take into account the obstacles that are in the way. So I was just like frantically like writing in my notebook like the math and trying to make it work. It was crazy.
Wow. That's no small feat.
Yeah, pathing can be very tricky on them.
What was like some of your design choices that like with I noticed you chose the Unity engine. What was your thinking behind that?
I've always used Unity. I have nothing against the other engines. It's the one I use.
Mm-hmm.
And as I said earlier, like there's so many skills involved that when I choose something, I tend to stick with it. Yeah. The thing is, I also do mobile development. I also do web development. Like if I start learning many game engines, I'm going to stretch myself thin, and that's not good.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah, that's very wise. So, like, I mean, it sounds like you're a man of many talents, which we get a lot of, and I love. But
I'm a generalist. That's how I would put it, right?
Yep. Yeah. No. Best way to. Yeah. Love it.
Some people specialize and they get really, really good at one thing, and that's really good too. Sometimes I wish I had that. I could do that.
Mm-hmm. But there's also so much strength to come from, like
basically
having
being a wild card
skill set. Yeah. No,
it's good if you're like me and that you don't work well in a team. That's the reality of it. That's the sad truth to it. Yeah, I really like to make the decisions, and like I feel like working in a team, the strength of it is being able to let people kind of, do their own thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a really hard time with that. And it's just, So
you have a hard time letting people do their own thing, or you have a hard time with...
The thing is, if a project that I really care about kind of takes a direction that I wasn't expecting, or doesn't take the direction that I previously had in mind, I kind of lose the motivation to go on. It's really weird.
Well, that makes sense.
Understandable.
Very understandable.
So while you're developing this project, so I mean, you only have 10 days to do this. I imagine, most of it probably up to the last minute was, constantly programming, making small changes, and testing.
Yes.
Was there a point where you started feeling like the crunch time was really needing to happen and time was running short, or is everything going pretty smoothly to a schedule that you kind of had set for progression in the project?
As with, any game jam or any like limited time frame game development takes so much time. And although I remember 2 days before the end, I was like, I think I'm going to be able to do this. I had to cut some things. For example, I wanted the player to be able to choose which rooms he wants to go to. If you look at the first room, there's a door on the right that doesn't open when you clear the room, and that was supposed to be opened. Anyway. Yeah, but no, I would say I got a bit relaxed. But then on the last day, I realized that, okay, no, there was more stuff that I thought needed to be done, and then I just kind of crunched to the end. Yeah.
Oh, man.
So and nice also, this was during the last weeks of the cohort I'm currently teaching at. And these last weeks are the most intense of the boot camp. So honestly, I didn't do much more than like looking at code for like those 10 days.
Wow. Oh my gosh. I don't know how you did that. Like, I can't imagine teaching a class and then single-handedly creating a game for a game jam.
But yeah, are you guys familiar with boot camps? Is there any like interesting ones in your area, or?
I mean, wait, boot camps are physical? I thought boot camps were only done on the internet.
Yeah, the only ones I know are done physically. Anyway, all the ones. We've got 3 mains one in Montreal, and they're all physical.
Oh, interesting. Huh. So, like, you actually go there, and you actually, like, do you show up? This is so interesting. I never thought of it. But that makes sense.
I did something kind of like this for CAST. It's the Association of System Testers. And we go to a physical convention, and you have different people that will talk about different types of stuff, and you can like hang out in the lobbies and like look at different methods that people use for going through and testing software and networks. That was pretty cool. That's probably about as close as I can get to it.
Yeah, I feel like physical boot camps. I really feel like they're the perfect in between academia, like learning code through academia and learning code on your own. Because what we do is we basically are alongside the students as they're going through like the great valley of despair that is like starting to learn code. And once they're on the other side, they're able to like do their own project. They're able to get jobs that, and then you can go on by their own. But
I think you guys have like some sort of, do you have like a guarantee in place?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, there is. And yeah. And I'm not actually a teacher, so I'm what happens is they have a lecture, and then they get dropped like a ton of homework, which they have to do for that day. And we're here to help if they get stuck, if they need like one-on-one teaching,
like tutor sort of thing.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's smart.
Awesome.
That's really good. That's so good. Yeah. No, I definitely, that seems like a much better path than going for a 4-year degree to.
Oh my gosh, for sure.
just to be a code monkey.
Yeah, and the funny part is we often get students that finish their computer science degree, and they're like, wait a minute, I don't actually know how to code properly.
Oh, that's so sad.
Oh no!
Funny. See, I have a I have a little bit of a vendetta against higher education, partly because of that. Like, yeah, no, I'm not gonna get started. I won't go there. But yeah.
Oh, please, I would like to hear more about that.
Well, okay, you don't really want to, but yeah. No, see, it makes no economical sense for me. Like, it makes no. I mean, okay, when I'm looking for talent, okay, well, like if I'm looking for someone to like do a graphic design project, do a logo, any of that stuff, right? If I'm looking for someone to do that and I see that they have a degree, for me that's a turnoff because it shows me what? Hey, I'm a rule follower. You know, I'm gullible. You know, I don't set the trends. I follow the trends, right? Like it shows me like all the things that like I don't want as part of someone who's like on the team, right? Like I mean that's just an example. Not to go for the whole thing about how expensive it is, and then like the fact are you actually gonna like? I mean, it's just so ludicrously expensive based off of what you get from. Anyways.
Yeah.
And especially in the age of free information. Like, we have the internet. Like, I mean, come on.
And that's kind of the experience that I had when I went to college. I went for 2 degrees because I was too stupid to stop at 1. But yeah, basically when I got out of college, I was just looking back and I was like, man, I spent all that time for this? Like, this doesn't seem like it was that difficult. I could have just taught myself this on the internet. And then I started really just buckling down and doing a bunch of YouTube binging on all sorts of things, electronics, and different types of research sites for stuff, and found that if I want to pick up something new, I can easily do it, and it don't take me but just a couple months to really get proficient in any particular subject.
Yeah,
I mean, you don't have to spend hundreds of dollars on textbooks you're never going to pick up again, and an hour long. Like,
no,
yeah.
Well, none of that.
It's also this idea. The other thing I don't like about it is it's this idea that you have that learning takes place in a certain environment. You know,
Yeah.
Okay,
like you're not allowed to learn on your own and DIY it.
Right? Like, like recently, I've been getting a couple things. One of the things I've been getting into is stand up. Right? Like, and it's just one of those things where it's like, you know what? Yeah, if I was in a college environment, I could just like, okay, let's just sign up for it's an impromptu classroom. But now it's like, hey, I want to learn this thing. All right, let's go look it up online. Let's see what other people have done. Let's reverse engineer it. All that. Anyways, as I said, it's a rant. We're not here to talk about my views on the subject.
I mean, I think my view is pretty close to yours. Yeah. One thing I got to say though is I think it gives you structure, and I think some people, especially when you're young, like of course, if you would spend all of that time and money on like learning that kind of stuff on yourself, you would probably get further. Yeah. But having someone like tell you where to look, where to go, even though sometimes it can be maybe a bit outdated, especially in the coding world, I think that's the main issue actually.
Yeah.
Well, that's actually one of the reasons why I love this community right here is that we got a lot of people that kind of know the stuff and kind of be like, oh hey, I mean I've had my fair share of conversations, and I was like setting up a web backend for the first time. Like, hey, so and so, I don't have any clue what I'm doing. Could you just give me a rough structure of how that's super. I agree. And some people, I've encountered, they just don't like they have to have that structure, and they have to that's the only way they can learn. And I mean, I see it, but yeah. So. But you're teaching boot. I guess you're a little bit closer to that. So is this boot camp a part of Concordia? Is it like how does that work?
Yeah, initially it was its own private kind of program, and we were giving it at WeWork, which was it was great, seriously. But then now we're in a partnership with the University of Concordia.
Okay.
And and it's web development. We're teaching React and Node and Mongo. I don't know if you guys know that, like web technology.
I was trying to pick up React a while ago. Yeah, that's really good. Yeah. So, how do you go about teaching, like, I mean, it's kind of an interesting subject. They get the lecture stuff, and then they say, "Hey, Richard, I have a problem. Help me out here." Is that kind of how it goes, or?
Pretty much, yeah. So there's like two main reasons why students would come to me, and the first one is they have a bug, they're stuck, they don't know what to do next. So usually I try to walk them through like what I would do in their situation, like how I would like go on the internet and find the answer. And the other main reason why they would come to us is if they don't fully understand a particular subject. And so sometimes if I have multiple students that comes to me with the same subject, I usually go to the front of the class and like do like a small lecture.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. So you're like, oh, you're actually like. I have such a hard time thinking about this as a physical thing. This is so funny.
Yeah. And I don't know. It's such like a bubble of intense learning, and it's only 3 months. And
wow. How much does it cost, if you don't mind? Like,
yeah, it's about 10K.
Okay.
Yeah, which is not so bad when you think about the cost of going to university for 4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this way, you're also not wasting a huge amount of time on it too.
And also, it's a guarantee, right? Like, does it work? I know some people do it differently. Is it where you have to? You get a job in the coding, or is it like a job in general, or do you have to like pay some of it, but some of it you don't have to pay? Like, how does the split work?
No, they pay it in full at first, and then they at the end of the course they have to submit a specific amount of applications per day. I think it's like 5 or something for X amount of time. And if really after I think 6 months, if they have proof that they applied and they didn't get a coding job, then they get refunded.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But honestly, like I've been doing this for a while now, and cohort after cohort, I see the students getting very anxious at the end of it. Like, am I going to get a job? And especially the ones that feel like they because the pacing is really fast, and so I think some people. The thing is, after the course, they sit down, they look back at the lectures, they look back at the workshops, and I think a lot of things in their mind kind of makes sense after the fact for these people, anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. That's really good. Like, so I guess you have a lot of the code learning. Like, what are some of the top resources other than Stack Overflow?
Stack Overflow and Stack Overflow, and also Stack Overflow.
So true.
That's exactly where I went.
I don't know how people coded before Stack Overflow. Like, how do you solve problems?
I don't know if you guys
reinventing the wheel
know
over and
the
over.
video game Stardew Valley.
Oh yeah, Stardew Valley.
Yeah. So, we were talking about indie games earlier. So Stardew Valley is a huge. I don't know. It's just I'm really. It's a huge inspiration for me. So this person was learning how to code, and he was looking for a project to work on, and he decided to make an Animal Crossing clone. There's an article on this, and it's amazing. And so he just kept going until he got to the result, to the game that we know today. And so as he went, he was learning pixel art on the fly, and then his pixel art skills would get better. So he would have to replace the old art that would no longer fit the higher quality art. And he repeated that process many times over until it all kind of, fitted together.
Okay.
And one part that fascinates me is, for some reason, he decided to never look out for help on the internet when he was facing a programming problem.
Interesting.
Yeah. And that's probably why it took him 5 years. But props to him.
He didn't use Stack Overflow. He didn't use any of the forms or something. If you had a problem, what would you do? Would you try to reverse engineer the
I guess bang your head on the monitor until it works. I don't know.
Well, you definitely get a lot of experience that way. Just
you learn
learning
Yes.
how
That's
to
true.
assess the issue that you're having, and then how to go about learning more, understanding how to learn more about something that you don't know about just yet.
Mhm. Yeah.
which is a difficult thing to do.
God,
but-
that's such an inspiration.
Oh yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's really cool. So, do you have like more aspirations, bigger projects for the gaming world?
More inspirations?
Or like I guess are you just planning on doing more game jams, participating in more game jams, or like working on like big game?
Yeah, actually, I would love to make Transient a full release. Like, I don't want to just take it as it is and keep working on it. I think I'm gonna have to change quite a few things to make it worthwhile. But I would love to just take this concept that I have been thinking about for quite a while and make it into like a roguelike game.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
And yeah, so actually, yeah, I am going to work on this. So yeah.
Yeah. God, that's what I love about these game jams, is that they enable you, they just free you up, because you don't have to be thinking about, all right, is this something, that I'm going to spend resources and time, right? If in game jam, it's like, whatever pops into your head or whatever, it seems most positive, go for it, it frees you up, and so you can test this stuff out that you normally be too scared to.
Yeah. And the limitations are good too, I've been playing guitar for quite a while, and Jack White, which is not the best guitarist in the world, but he certainly has his own style and is very good at what he does. He has this philosophy that if you limit yourself, it's going to fuel your creativity. And the reason for that is if you have less variables to work with, you're going to have to use your imagination to like rearrange these variables in an interesting way. And I feel like game jams do that very much, right? With the themes and the time constraints.
Mm-hmm. And Jack, I know you're listening. Thank you for putting this on again. Really appreciate it. It was so much fun. Yeah. No, I remember listening. I think it was, I don't know, have you heard of Malcolm Gladwell? Kind of popular.
Yeah.
So I was listening to his podcast, and if you haven't already, I know this is like I've plugged his podcast multiple times on the show. I swear we're not a hashtag not sponsored. No, it's really good. One of the things he was saying was where like some of these musicians, what they'll do is this one guy had these cards, and what they do is they change things up. Like they'd switch the guitar player and the drummer. Or they would all have to do like some like play one hand, like some crazy thing, right? And from this, I think like he worked with David Bowie, and he worked with like a lot of these really high level people, and they were able to make some of their best work when they were actually had limitations, because then they had to work around them. And one of the stories he gave was, I guess this famous piano player. It was booked at this one opera house, but unfortunately it was like last minute, and the only piano they had was this one that barely worked, and had to press the keys in this like a certain way, and he was like, forget this, but the promoter like, no, you gotta do this, please, 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 everyone paid all this money, and then he goes down, and he sits down, and he plays, and it's like the most incredible piano performance like ever, awesome. And because of those limitations. So yeah, no, I think limitations are definitely underrated.
Yeah.
So what are some directions you're thinking of going for Transient?
I'm sorry?
What are some of the directions you're thinking of, like, ideas for Transient?
For the full game?
Yeah, like, are just bigger? Are you taking more levels?
Yeah, so I as every roguelike, usually the levels are randomized, the enemies are randomized, and the loot is as well. And usually the difficulty level is really high. And just because you died on your run doesn't mean that it was a failure, right? Maybe you got further than you ever did before. And just because you finished the game doesn't mean it's truly finished. Sometimes there's like an ending and a true ending, such as in Slay the Spire. I don't know if you guys played it. Yeah. So yeah, and I kind of like when so roguelike are by design replayable to infinity until you get tired of it. And I like it when the replayability makes sense in the lore. For example, in Into the Breach, which is the successor to FTL, you are a time traveler, and when you die, you are kind of like brought back to your timeline, and then you get to start again, right? So anyway, so I do like that. And so in Transient, I was thinking maybe every time you fail, you get kind of captured, you get put back in your cell, and then you get to try again, or something like that. Or maybe they kill you, or you escape, but then they just go on the planet and grab another one of your peers, right? So I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I agree. Because I don't like it when they like some stupid reason where, like, oh, you just magically respawn.
Yeah, making it make sense with lore is actually really ingenious for kind of keeping the immersion of the setting that you're building.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Are you guys into video games, or are you too busy with
I'm huge into video games.
Yeah. I mean, we're 20, 30 something year olds. I mean, point me a dude who's 20, 39 in the video games.
That's kind of one of the things I really liked about the Dark Souls series.
Yeah.
Was just the way that they handled death. Because
yeah,
you die, and it's not like oh well, that's game over. It has punishments for it handles it in just such a unique way. I've never seen it really handled in a video game like that before. So you actually lose something when you die, and you have to you have one chance to go back and get it, and then if you miss it, it's gone forever.
Yeah. Yeah. No, So what are some of your favorite titles?
I think ever since there's been that huge indie game movement, I think it's already been 10 years ago now, that was born out of necessity because the AAA games started to become more and more the same thing. I've been loving so many of these titles, and not everyone gets it, and that's okay, but sometimes I show these games to people and they're like, no. But,
so if you were to make a top 5 recommendations list for the listener for fun indie games, or just different indie games, what would you suggest?
Yeah, I mean, definitely Faster Than Light, which is the OG of roguelikes. Well, it kind of brought back the in popularity the genre. Slay the Spire, definitely. What else? I do like Moonlighter. Gungeon, Enter the Gungeon is one of the best co-op games I've played. It's incredibly hard, but you always want to try again.
Risk of Rain?
I'm sorry?
Like Risk of Rain?
Yeah, it is similar, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be it.
All right. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, no, I keep hearing good things about FTL.
Yeah, and what I love about FTL is that the focus is on managing your crew, and not so much on ships shooting at other ships.
Mm-hmm.
In regular spaceship games, you see a spaceship explode, it's just a big chunk of metal. You don't really think of the people inside it.
Right.
But when you look at your crew and the fires are starting to appear everywhere and oxygen's running out and they're suffocating, it feels so much more real.
Right.
Even though there's little circles on your screen. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. That's a really cool development.
Yeah.
Huh. I'm a basic guy. I like my AAA title.
There's nothing wrong with that. Video games are made to be enjoyed, right?
So I cannot. I'm seriously. Cyberpunk 2077. I cannot wait for that game. It's coming. It's Cyberpunk, and it's
yeah. Keanu Reeves is all you have to say.
Yes, there's what is there not to like about it? I mean, but of course, there's always the thing of. Well, I mean, I can't imagine it being a replay of something like Battlefront or something, where there's a lot of hype and then it just doesn't deliver. I mean, that's always a possibility, but how?
Yeah, I think the company did really well with The Witcher. I have high hopes for it. Yeah,
I do too. And see, the one thing I didn't like about The Witcher was the setting. I just have a hard time getting to medieval games. And my favorite setting is Cyberpunk. So you take the cool parts of Witcher and Cyberpunk, and you can't go wrong. You just can't go wrong.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Just watch. EA's going to release a Cyberpunk game, and it's just going to be a flop.
You hyped it too much, Jay.
Yeah.
Challenge accepted.
All right. So do you have any? obviously play the game. We're going to put a link in the description. Yeah, I think posted here probably too. But like anything else you would want?
Yeah, so I have a website where I post my projects, and you can also, there's a link to my Twitter and YouTube and everything. So it's myfullname.com, so it's Richard Bonneau, so Richard BONNEAU.com. And I'm on Twitter at, I think it's I am Rubik, all in one word.
Okay.
Yeah.
Will do. Yeah, no, thanks for being on the show, and congratulations for winning.
Thank you so much.
How many contestants were there? Were there like
115, I think.
115 entries?
Yeah, and so many entries were amazing. You know, to be honest, I played a few of them, and I was like, yeah, this is it. This is the one that's going to win, obviously. And it was great. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, it was great. And do we know when the next game jams, JamCraft is coming on? I feel like, is it, are they yearly, or are they,
I heard the next one was in November, but I really don't know. I know Jack's in the
every
in the
6
room.
months.
Jack says it's every 6 months. There you go.
Right.
Nice.
So, yeah, we'll definitely keep tuned and see how things go.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Thanks for hopping on the show, and
thank you so much.
We got this conversation. I feel like it was half of it was me ranting stuff.
It was a great rant.
Beautiful.
All right. No matter where you guys are about things, Jaynky to the max.
Hello everyone, thank you for tuning in to this episode of To The Max. If you liked it, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel, and even join the Discord server in the description as we stream the podcast live every single weekend over there. Anyway, make sure to stay janky.